Today, notes need to be recorded on your own notebook paper. I'm going to ask you to split your paper in half lengthwise. Every problem that I do is going to have a dual setup, meaning that I'm going to show you how to do it one way, and I'm going to show you another way. The two ways are known as the is over of equaling percent over 100, and then the other method is the inline equation. I call it an inline equation because it's written in algebra terms. It's just one line, there's no fractions. Inline equation. Okay, so we're going to start with this one. It's going to be the is over of equal percent over 100 method. And you'll see something like this. It'll say, what is 20% of 35? Now, using this is over of method, you have to place values for is of. The percent should be obvious, and then you always have 100. So we start by going line equal line over 100. That's guaranteed. You have that 100 in the proportion. And so then I just read through here. It says, what is? So the question is, they're looking for is. That's going to be my variable. I'll call that f. 20%, well, that's obvious. It's going to go right here. When you place a percent, you don't use the percent symbol. It's going to be the whole number. You just put the 20 there. So we'll lose that percent. We use the percent to know that that's where it's going to go. Of 35 means that the 35 would go on the bottom. Now, to solve this, we're going to use our techniques. We're going to multiply by 35 and 100. As I distribute to the first fraction, I see that the 35 would drop out, so I would have 100f equaling, for the second fraction, the 100s would drop out, so I'd have 20 times 35. I'm going to continue with the lesson that I did yesterday. I'm going to let the calculator do most of the work. So I look at this and I consider that my goal is to get the variable by itself. As I get the variable by itself, it indicates that I need to divide both sides by 100. And so then in my calculator, I can say that f equals, and I just put all this into the calculator. I type in 20, I turn my calculator on, 20 times 35 divided by 100. And I get 7. So it tells me f is equal to 7. I'm going to do the same problem now, but I'm using a different technique. I'm going to use the inline equation approach. So when it says, what is 20% of 35? This goes back to our basic translations, our literal translations. What is a question. So that's my unknown. What is, we're going to call it x. Is means equals. So what is x equals 20% would be 20%. You can either do it with a decimal, or because the calculators have the percentage function, you can say 20% of 35. Of is implied multiplication. And so in my calculator, you see that this is much cleaner and much quicker. We are responsible for both methods. In my calculator, I'm going to go 20, and then I can use the second button to call up percent, or third, depending on your calculator. And that should come up as 0.20 when you hit that percentage. So I go at 20% on my calculator, it displays 0.2, and then I go times 35. Answer 7. So you see, I get the same result. This is a little more work. It's using the fraction, one fraction equaling one fraction, so it uses the definition of a proportion. And this is the inline equation approach. When you do your homework, you're going to do, down one column, you're going to do all these proportions, and then the other column, you're going to do all inline equations. So we must master both methods. That's your first example.